Yeah, we're we're going to the amusement park.
Yeah. Anyways, what do we got news-wise? There has been a system update for the system. Software update recently for the central station.
Yeah, it didn't change the version of the CS3.
It
It
did. I thought it increased some numbers there.
mm-mm, 2.52 parentheses 6. It stayed the same,
Did
but
it?
I think it
I thought it was 2.520.
no, and then there was another one right after that,
Oh,
like week before, just before we sent out the newsletter.
okay. Yeah, you were
And then
tracking
there's
it.
a another one like last week, but it didn't change the version number.
Oh,
So
was there one last week?
yeah, and I think it was just some kind of update for the mobile station because now the mobile station is 4.13 instead of 4.10, I think it was.
Okay.
And there's a wireless mobile station version now is 4.0.02, I believe. Even though in the newsletter we have 4.0.01. And that's because I had to send our wireless mobile station to Denver, and that's when the update came out. So
Did that
I,
work well at the show, the wireless one?
yeah, I didn't really have it hooked up to anything because I usually have my iPad out so I can walk around and still talk to people and maintain the layout while it's running
Right, right, right.
and demo the ballast tamper and the robo and all that stuff.
Oh, cool, cool. You get a lot of visitors at the show.
Yeah, it was fairly busy. There was high winds, so I think it people didn't show up on Saturday and they showed up on Sunday instead because it was pretty steady for most of the day, both days. Saturday it died down a little bit about 2 o'clock, and Sunday usually does too anyway. But
You're saying it was too windy. It was too windy to get in. What did they have? The doors open at each end and just kept blasting people out.
no, but when we left on Saturday, the wind kicked up in the parking lot, blowing a bunch of dust. It was actually hitting my face and hurting, just getting sandblasted. So
Uh,
there were
yeah.
some nasty winds.
Okay, so we do have a question here regarding how do we know about upgrades on the CS3? The primary thing that you want to do is you want to have your CS3 connected to your network, and you do have to plug it in because it's a wireless router. And once you do that, I'll show you on the screen how you can tell that an update is needed. Um, and by the way, you do need to have it plugged into the router before you power up the CS3. And then let's go to a screen here. So this would be the CS3. All right, so at the top of your screen, you will see over the left-hand system icon here on the left, you will see a red dot. So that'll be your first indicator. And if you click open the system, depending on which screen you get. So you'll either get this screen, and you probably will see a red dot over the CS3 icon as well as the system icon here in the left. Or you will get to this screen, in which case you'll see a red dot on this CS3 icon, this icon here, and you will see a button that will show up on the right side where I'm kind of circling with the mouse. You might not see it, but that is an icon that initiates the update. Um, so that's one to check. Now, after you do the update procedure, you may see a secondary red dot that shows up over this TFP3 icon. These are subsystem updates, and you want to complete that afterwards. You may or may not get it. Mostly the TFP3 updates are in relation to peripherals like boosters, possibly I think the Link S88 information. So that's how you would know. You're going to see a red dot. Once the updates are complete, then the dot may either be green or it will just go away because there's no reason to have an icon that indicates an updated system. Okay, so you are verifying you know this.
That you just look for upgrades. Well, you just look for the red dot when
Yeah, you
when
just
it
look for
boots
the
up.
red dot. But if you don't have it connected to a router, then the only way to know there's an update available is either check the website or check the newsletter, which we kind of have version numbers. And if the version doesn't match, then you got an update. But if you want any kind of live information, you need to have it connected to a router. So. Okay. All right. So we have a couple of topics, maybe.
Oh, wait a second. Sean.
Sean has another question.
Sean says, I recently changed routers. How do I connect to the new router? How do I determine if the CS3 is correctly connected to the new router? Well, you just basically plug it in. There's the only way to connect to a router is with the plug on the bottom of the, or I'm sorry, the back of the CS3. So you plug in to your router there.
The way to actually, one way you can verify, Sean, is
Yeah.
let's go back to the
IP address.
Yeah, is you will go to the IP settings. Let's see where that is. Settings settings at Ethernet here. Well, actually, let me share my screen again. So probably be a lot better. So you see where it says settings Ethernet or IP. Let's see if there's anything in the left window. I forget. So you got your network. Whoops, scrolling wrong. You got your network set up. So many varieties of screens that we have here.
I just click on the CS3 icon and go
You
from
just
there.
go to CS3 icon, yeah, and then you go down to the settings Ethernet here, and you look at the IP address, and this should all be full of numbers. Now the thing, Sean, is when you connect to a new router, your numbers are going to change. So if you wrote your numbers down before on your old router, the router assigns the IP address number. So when you have a new router, then the number will probably change. So you want to just kind of check this number when you have a new system. So. All right, anything else? Did you want to click done on Sean's? Thanks. Okay. So that is that. Should we continue on with topics?
Um,
Mine are pretty quick. If you want me to go first, I can go first.
yeah, oh yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, he's just verifying what we were talking about. So, okay, so I actually have two topics. One is regards to, I don't actually have the email. I don't have the newsletter with me. One is in regard to the equipment that you want to use if you're actually in a programming event. I think for many of our viewers, you're already probably fairly experienced with this. But let me do you have the newsletter handy?
Uh, yeah,
Did you download it yet? I haven't downloaded it yet.
yes, I have.
So you want to display that?
Yes, I would like to display that.
Are you not sharing? Are you not co-hosted yet? I haven't co-hosted you yet. Yeah, this is a rinky-dink operation, guys. We don't know what we're doing.
Okay, sorry, I was logging into my CS3 so that I can share the newsletter right now.
Okay, we're gonna hold off on the one question that we have here. When I think we'll hold off when Rick gets to his article. So, essentially, we have if you want to get an idea what kind of equipment equipment you need to enable events that are track related. One, obviously, you'll need wire. Um, you have three, um, there are three styles. If you scroll down a little bit so we can see that illustration there. Yeah. So you can see there are three different track types. There are several track types here. We on the left side here, we have what we call contact track pairs. What this does is it separates one of the outer rails from being connected. And so these pairings would go on each end. The one in between, we actually have the ones that look like there's a hole in the middle. Those are circuit tracks. Those are triggered by the sliders on your locomotives, especially with the Marklin 3-rail stuff. Now, this won't really apply if you have 2-rail tracks because you don't have a center slider. In the case of 2-rail tracks, then most likely you're going to use maybe a magnetic reed control. That's that funky little illustration on the right. And so those general options. I mean, traditionally we've used a lot of circuit tracks and magnetic reed switches. Now these are momentary switches, so they just kind of activate when the magnet rolls over them, as well as the slider. Contact tracks on the far left will actually remain active as long as the train, especially if it's like 3-rail tracks and rolling stock, remain on that section of track. Your third option is to actually create your own contact tracks, in which case you need those red insulators because you're going to isolate the rails rather than having these track pairs on the left isolate the rail. You use the insulators. So those are the three sets of track equipment that you'll need. To read these sensors, then generally you're going to want an S88, what we call an S88. What are you doing with the tools?
I don't know what you see. I'm trying to show an illustration of the contact
Yeah.
track.
Yeah, your whatever's on screen is what you're showing. So
It's in the green box, yeah.
yeah. So as far as S88 decoders, there are three styles here. We have an S88 decoder, sometimes known as S88AC, but it's your standard one. And then we have an S88DC decoder, which is good for 2-rail layouts. But you can use these with magnetic reed switches, and obviously you won't be using them for circuit tracks since it's it's for 2-rail. You can use them, I suppose, but these are good for momentary instances. The Link S88 is similar to the S88 at the top, or the AC, but what it does is it allows backward compatibility for the older style S88 switcher illustrated on the right of the screen. And the S88s on the right require wire plugs that you need to wire plugs into, and then there's an old style and a new style. That's the difference generally between the 60888, which is a larger plug, and the 60880, which is smaller plug with ears on it, as we would call it. But they've done away with those, and they have terminal plugs, which you can kind of see the screw terminals at the sort of the bottom of each of those S88s along the left. The S88 Link does require a switch mode power pack, a wall wart as you may refer to it, but it has to be a switch mode power pack, not like a transformer type. Switch mode power packs are just regulated items. They're safer to use, usually lighter in most cases. And that's really kind of the gist of it. We're not going to get into how to set that stuff up. It's just the equipment listing you have. So that's pretty much that. Now, I did write a secondary article, and this one really regards for people who are trying to view their control screens, and maybe they don't have enough real estate. So you can unshare yours, and I'll share my screen, Rick, if you want. So. And we'll go over this really quickly. So, before we get into it, we do have some questions. Some people have difficulty using the VNC viewer. I'm actually going to go through that process with you so you can actually see how to set this thing up. So the first thing you need to do, and because of what I need to view, there's a little bit of a backwards approach. So the first thing you want to do, and you can see the screen, this is um, the VNC view. This is actually what you see on your CS3. So the first thing you want to do is you need to get a hold of the IP number of your system, as we talked about earlier. And you can see my number is 192.168.68.120. And that's the primary thing you want. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to shut down this screen, and we'll go to a browser window in your computer, and we'll do that first. So I'm going to take this number here, and I'm going to type it into my browser. So let me change screens, and let's go to this one here. Yeah, we're going to go to this one here. Okay, so you can see a browser window. Let's kind of close all the extra stuff, nonsense that you don't need to see right now. And I'm going to type in that number, 2.168. Oh, am I not sharing that yet? Oh, I am sharing.
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Kind of small, but
6, is it too small?
it may be me.
It's always you.
That's what I hear.
Okay. And this is the screen that you'll see. You don't need the translation really. So
yeah, share that screen and not your whole desktop now.
Okay, so I just wanted to show that you can see it typing it. I wasn't sure you can see that. I do actually want to show the desktop at one point, so but I will do what you kind of say there. So this might be easier. So now you can actually see the browser window. I typed in my IP number, and this will basically kind of give you one screen on your CS2. This is basically all operational mode. Okay, you're not gonna, of the CS3. Yeah. You're not going to be able to get into anything like editing your events, right? So you won't have editability. This is for when you just want to operate your layout. If you want to do any edits of the layout, then you need to go into the VNC viewer. I'll show you how to do that. You click on the system icon here, and you basically will go to the screen server. It changes to this layout, in which case you go to the bottom here. And this is the panel you're looking for, the screensaver panel. And if you haven't done this before, you're going to need to download the Real VNC Viewer. Don't go to Real VNC Viewer. Click on the icon, this link itself, and download this itself, because this is the client. And this is a free client. If you go to Real VNC and download their version, you're getting into a subscription cycle, which you don't want to do. So just click on the Real VNC Viewer and download the software. You can read through this. It kind of makes a little bit of sense. Again, we're going to be using the IP number. Whether or not you want to use the this 4-digit number, it really doesn't matter. I don't use it myself. But if in most cases, let me just stop my server here. In most cases, you'll have it look like this. It's going to be a green button, and it's going to be, you want to actually start the CS3, the CS screen server. Once it's red, you can actually close the browser window. And now let me go back to the VNC viewer. And now I'm going to actually go back to the full screen mode again for you guys. So, or there's probably another way I can do this. New share. Or you can go, you open up VNC Viewer client that you just downloaded, and you'll have this screen. Now this screen won't actually apply, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to delete these because this is normally how it would look. Okay, and you can see I actually have different series of numbers because I actually changed routers myself, just like Sean Finelli did. So I shouldn't have said his name, but they don't really know. Sorry, Sean. Sorry, I exposed you, man.
Everyone knows him.
Yeah. Okay, so normally you would see a screen like this, and then you just type in that same IP number that we did before, 68.120. And I'm actually going to share my screen again just so you see what's going on with the process. New share. And this is the current screen that I am looking at, right? This is the current screen I'm looking at. This is the pop-up window you get for RNCViewer. I'm going to just continue on, and then it changes to this screen layout of my CS3. And I'll just zoom into that specifically. Now, this screen that you see here is a direct representation of the CS3, and you have viewership capabilities. You know, it's just like you can zoom in and out of the window, whatnot, but it's not going to get any bigger. And you now actually have edit functionality for all the functions. So this is actually when you want to maybe work on your CS3 through the computer. Now, part of the article that I wrote about is how to expand this view, because again, this is directly one-to-one relationship with your CS3, and you can't get any more windows out of this, right? You're going to have to move around for each window panel that you want to see. So this can be, you know, obviously it's a little strict. Now you can have multiples open. I still actually have my browser window open on the other screen. I have two monitors that I have. So I'm going to show you actually how you can have multiple windows going on and actually expand your screen control. And to do that, I will go to my first screen here. Okay. And this is showing, you can see I have my RNCViewer content window up here. We're going to get that out of the way. I'm going to close this because I don't really need to see that screen. But you can see my browser screen, right? And if you want, what you do is you actually create a new window, which if you forget how to do this, I usually use Control O-N, and it opens up another one. So is there another browser window that you see, Rick? Yep. Yeah, you're muted out. And then you just type in the IP address again here.
There, I fixed it.
68.120. Yeah, you're muted out. So now you can see I actually have two multiple windows. But the beauty here is that I can actually manipulate one window, and it's not going to affect the other window. So now I can have multiple controls, and if you have multiple screens, you just create another browser window, and you know, then you'll have full access to a lot of different controls on one computer screen. And mind you, let's see, let's kind of hide that out. I still have, switch screens again. This is my second screen, and you can see I still have access to my RNCViewer screen if I need to do any kind of edits. So again, the top window here is basically, you know, you're just using a browser to access and operate your CS3. And I use the RNCViewer just to do some edits. So that basically is my topics in the newsletter. So, and let's.
All right, real quick. We got some questions here.
Yeah.
Richard said he lost the Zoom link when you showed how to get to the CSE screen. I want you to show it again, but you know, Richard, we're gonna post this video online afterwards, so you'll be able to get to it and see it there. And Joe V.
Okay, John R. I just
John
want to
R.
make sure you have the real VNC. You have a link there. I appreciate you having a link. What I don't know is I don't know if it's just to go to Real RNCViewer. Again, if you have a CS3 and you click on that link, it's going to take you right to it. You don't really have to use the link that you're sending. but I do appreciate because I don't know if that's going to actually send you to their subscription base. So yeah,
Okay.
you just want to download the free client is what he's kind of saying. So I
Yeah,
appreciate that. Thank you.
which is correct.
Yeah.
Um, Now Joe V has an interesting question. Can I connect my CS to the main track and the programming track at the same time, and then select Loco 1 on the main and Loco 2 on the program? Well, it doesn't work that way. When you're using a central station, you have control of all your locomotives that are on the main track and the programming track the same. So you don't use two tracks. The programming track has limited use. It would be for an FX decoder, or you'll see in my article for programming um, decoders, um, sound decoders, or non-sound decoders if you wanted to program it while it's in the locomotive.
It actually has a lower power output too.
It does. I'm not sure if it's a lower power output, but it is definitely a lower threshold for overload. Um,
Yeah.
so
It's either
you
current draw or whatever. It's something like that.
right,
Yeah.
and no, you do not connect them together. You have insulators on the center rail, I believe, only for the CS3. I think the CS2 needed a center rail and the outer rails insulated from each other for the programming track. So, okay, anonymous. Okay, yeah. He's saying, how do I get the locos to show up in the drop-down menu in the MDT3 programming software for the CS3 local list in order to program them? Which means how do you program a certain locomotive that's in the inventory? And that's what you have to do. It has to be loaded into the inventory of your Central Station 3. And we can get into my newsletter now. If I can.
Yeah, John's just very. It is current limited. Um, just hard to explain current. So I'd rather just say it just doesn't have the power output. But thanks. Yeah, it's a current
Yep.
limit, and it just limits the amount of locomotives you can actually operate on the programming track. So
Okay, I have like so many windows open here. And I'm sorry if I'm not looking at the camera because I have two monitors here that I gotta kind of coordinate.
you never used to operate with multiple monitors. New experience.
No, I got a second one here at the office, and it's wow, it's a game changer.
If you have the desk space for it.
Yes. Just getting these things set. Okay, where's the newsletter? Oh, share screen, find the newsletter, there we go. So if and this is just a question for you because of what I was, Curtis, for what I was screwing up before. If I click on this window, what do you see? What am I sharing now?
Right now, I am seeing the newsletter view
Okay,
only.
okay, that is fine. I need to figure out how to switch share. For some reason, oh, here it is. Okay, don't worry, folks. I'm getting ready. I'm almost ready. Okay, so here in the newsletter, the introduction, we already kind of covered that. I had a question from somebody. This is what sparked the newsletter. He's saying, I was telling him he could program from the central station. You don't need the decoder programming tool. 60, what is the number? That's not it. That's the adapter. I forget the number. 60 something. 60971 is the programming adapter. And it's very convenient to use the adapter. In fact, I really don't program with the central station very often. But somebody asked me if it can be done with the CS2, and I just blurted out yes. And then I started thinking about it that I haven't actually done it. So what I covered in this article was how to program with the CS3, because there's only one minor change at the end if you're doing it with the CS2. So once you get your mDecoder Tool 3 program running, you will see that there is a programming paths. Depending on which screen you're in, it'll be two different styles here, and they both do the same thing. They both show the same thing, and these are the three programming paths. The first one, let's say this window here on the right. The programming path on the left here is the old decoder programmer, where we don't even have one of these. I'm not sure how to use them. I heard they were a little bit less user friendly than the current 60971 decoder programmer. And this would be used for the MLD decoders, and or the MSD3 SD decoders. The MLD3 and the MSD3 are the current decoders right now, and that's a Marklin locomotive decoder and Marklin sound decoder. So those are the current ones. But if you're trying to program a MSD or MLD decoder without the three, I believe you need this programmer, because I have not been successful in programming those older decoders, the generation before the current generation that we're in. Now, I have not tried an MSD decoder with the central station yet, because basically we only have current products here at the offices, and I don't have any of those decoders to test. So I have not been able to test them. The second pathway would be this one here on the right, which is the easiest, and it's the decoder programming tool. That's basically the easiest way. You have two adapters, which I will stop sharing for a moment. Stop sharing. And you have two adapters for the decoder programming stick. One adapter is for a 21 pin or an 8 pin or a wired decoder, which would be for HO. The other adapter is for the larger G-scale decoders, whether 1 gauge or LGB. This is number 55129, and this comes with the decoder stick, so you don't have to worry about buying that. And let's go back to share. Okay, so those are the two screens that are, I'm sorry, the two programming adapters for decoders. The third path would be this center one, and what the article is about is how to program with the CS3. So first of all, you need your CS3 plugged into your wireless network, and you don't need to log into it like Curtis just mentioned in either capacity. It doesn't work like that. What's going to happen is once the mDecoder tool sees the CS3 on its network, the network that it's on, it will populate the CS3 icon here, where it lights up. Anytime any of these items light up, that programming path is available. And by I mean light up, they're not grayed out, they're in full color. So in this article, I did not have a programming tool plugged in, so that's why you'll see this grayed out and this highlighted. So that's the short story for that. Now, I did have two central stations plugged into my into the network at the same time. And if I click on this icon, a pop-up window shows up and I can select which CS3 to I want to program to. And I selected the appropriate one. Now, to select a specific decoder that I want to program to, you have to load it into the inventory of your CS3. So once it's in the inventory of the CS3, you can select which decoder or which locomotive you want to program by touching this or clicking on this locomotive icon underneath the CS3. That will bring up a pop-up window of all of the locomotives that are currently in the inventory of the CS3. And then you will find the default address one if this is the first time you're programming it, which would be a MLD3 or MSD3, Marklin Locomotive Decoder 3 or Marklin Sound Decoder 3. So that would be the specific locomotive that I would be programming to. This one happens to be a locomotive decoder, so there's no sounds, but even still, the process is the same. The non-sound decoders program fairly quickly, within 1 to 2 seconds, because it's just settings, where a sound decoder takes much longer because it has to transfer the sound files into the decoder. If you use a programming stick, it usually takes about 20 or 30 seconds to program the sounds. If you use the central station, it's going to take much, much longer. And I did one last night, and it took a better part of an hour. So you're gonna have to remember that it takes longer to travel to the CS3 and then into the decoder. So once I have everything set, like here in figure 5, everything is set, and I have the decoder, mDecoder tool to the programming path of the CS3 to the MLD3 decoder. And to initiate it, you hit the down arrow, and that will start the download to the locomotive. Now, this is where some people have a little trouble is your locomotive that you're trying to program must be on the programming track. That's the programming path. And if it's not on the programming track, you'll get errors. So it must be on the programming track. With the CS2, um, it basically you go through the same process. Because there's less memory in the CS2 internally, you must put a USB stick into the CS2 so that it will store the temporary files on the USB stick to transfer to the locomotive instead of going directly to the locomotive and storing them in the CS3 when you're using a CS3. So once you put a USB stick into the CS3, and don't make the mistake I did, where a console like this, I tried this like 4 times, and then I finally sat down and read this error or this message again, and because I kept putting a USB stick in my computer, not into the CS3. So yeah,
Genius.
that's I know, we make the same mistakes you guys do. We've probably made more of them. Um, that's why we know this stuff.
Well,
So
it's a little weird that you could actually, uh, only have following this thing, you have a USB port that you got to put a USB stick in for memory.
yeah, well, the CS2s don't have as much internal memory, if any, to say to mention. So that's the only thing I can think of. Um, because the CS3 is obviously a lot faster and a lot more memory, internal
Yeah.
memory.
I can't say recall even thinking about how many CS2 users are using us to program anything right now.
Right. And I happen to have a CS2 here, and I did try it. It does work. I don't know that it takes any longer than a CS3 because it goes through the same process. So hopefully that answers your question. Anonymous attendee. That's the name. So
All right, cool.
let me stop sharing somewhere.
There are a number of comments by JOV and John R. Or was that JOV? Yeah. So you want to look over those too.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm going to maybe try to tackle some of the questions that we got some emails on earlier.
Okay.
So,
So Joe V is going back to the putting the programming track and the main track together. Um,
it's regarding question. Wasn't it about, being able to view programming track, what's on the programming track and what's on the main line?
yeah. So he's
I would
saying,
think you can. I mean, that if we're using the browser question where we're just adding another browser window, I don't really see why not if the edit features in one of the windows, right? So let's see if we can actually access edit locomotive. Give me a second. I think I need. I'm not connected to track, so this is part of the issue. Let me share the screen over here really quickly. So this is a browser window. So the thing is, according to at least looking at what's on the screen here, you can actually edit the locomotives, which means if you can do this on the programming track, this is a browser window. Yeah, so I mean, if you wanted to have a separate window to program your locomotives, yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't be possible. So I think that answers your question.
okay, Joe V is asking again about the programming track, and he says, I understand the main track and programming track need to be isolated. I wanted to use the programming track to program a loco while the other trains are running on the main. I'm not sure that's possible because I don't know exactly when or if, because I hadn't noticed, the central station goes into stop mode for programming a decoder. I could be mistaken on that. I just hadn't tried it because when I
It
program a locomotive, that's all I do is program it. I don't
Yeah, I
mess
don't think
around.
we've ever really tried that because the couple issues. There's one, yeah, it's going to cycle out the power to the locomotive as it programs, and whether or not that's isolated to the program track is uh, the reason why I can't verify that is one, if I'm programming a locomotive, I'm not going to pull attention away from a running layout where I'm just going to risk things running into each other.
You're still
Uh,
sharing.
Pardon?
You're still
Yeah,
sharing your screen.
that's okay. Yeah, it's still screen. I can stop share. The thing is, if I got a running layout and I need to program a locomotive, then I'm not going to let my layout basically run sometimes by itself. I've had enough collisions where I was programming events at the same time, and that's just earmarking it for a
Yeah.
collision and a crash somewhere. So I mean, if you have the ability to focus on programming your layout, give it a shot and see if because the CS3 will actually power cycle the track. I just don't think it's isolated to just a programming track. It might cycle power the entire layout. So, um, you know, test it. If you have an answer, go for it. If it works, you know, I don't really need, I don't really see that, I don't really have an answer for you. All right. So the other comments, I think these other comments might be related to you. What do you think?
Um, well, they're just kind of comments. There's no,
Oh yeah, just comments on the programming board. There's another programming board that's out there.
um,
Isn't that a test board though?
the
It's
tester, the decoder tester, and I have not been successful. You said you were able to program a decoder on the decoder tester, but I have not been successful doing that.
I still had to program the programming base into it. I had to plug
Yeah.
the base into it. That's why. It's not an
Yeah, and
isolated
that's
thing.
just it. I have programmed a decoder on the tester while it's plugged into the central station.
Yeah.
But programming it connected to the programming stick, the USB stick that comes with a 60760 or 6060, what's that number?
No, but
60971.
I still need the USB programming stick to program that board on. I just
Yes,
don't need that little short board. I use the long board, the big board.
right. And I've never been able to do that. I keep trying and it never works.
Yeah.
So that's just me though, I'm sure. Um, One gentleman is asking, can you program a decoder with the MS2? And that's an easy, quick no. How's that? The MS2 is not capable of programming a decoder. And then he asks, how do I get the M decoder tool? You order it from your dealer. Item number is 60971. And it shows up on your door about 3 days later, and you download the software from the Marklin website. If you like, you can download the sound library from the Marklin website. It takes a little while, but then you have it and you can build your own sound profiles into a decoder. Um, let's see. It doesn't matter if your mobile station is connected to the programming track or not. Basically, the mobile station is not capable of programming a decoder. It's train control only.
And yeah, just verification. Yeah, you do need to have the USB stick to connect to the big board, the test board. And yeah, it comes in really handy, that big test board. So
Yes.
yeah. And okay, not really too sure what. I think it's just a message to one of the other viewers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I want to let's see if I can answer one of the questions we got. This regards actually the macro shuttle. Let's see if
Yeah.
I can.
I was waiting for you to answer that one.
Yeah, I want to just share a portion of the screen. So let's do it. I don't want to. We'll do it this way here. Maybe a little hard to view. And so the question basically is he has a macro shuttle, and it got a little convoluted here because he was basically saying that I think the gist of it is he's trying to get locomotives to stop at a specific point at the end of each shuttle line. And if he didn't use the macro shuttle, then he can control the stopping point by adding delays at the end of each contact. So this would be the example setup here. If he had events, he can actually add a timing delay from when the locomotive hit one end and when it stopped. But he couldn't really do that with the macro shuttle. He couldn't figure it out, even though it was a little bit more precise, I think is what he says, in the stopping point. Well, if you actually have this, and let's just take a quick look at the event mockup that I created here. Oh, I can't because it's in edit mode. So I need to go to the RNCViewer here. And let me change the share on this. So here's a quick mock-up of the shuttle macro itself. Now what you can do, and experiment with this again, look at it. We have conditions, obviously your contact tracks. The way most of the macro generally works, or most of the events work, is before it proceeds to the next step. There's a delay that you can create. Now there's actually a delay in the actual triggering event. So once it gets triggered, it counts a 3-second delay or whatever setting you want, milliseconds, minutes, if you really are a patient person, and you can try to change the timing value itself. So whatever you want to do. But each step in this, excuse me, has a delay setting. Now the speed setting, it just changes the speed, and you can see that the delay is not there. You don't have a delay. It's just going to activate the delay. So it's apparently the delay is going to occur at the trigger settings itself. And this is, handy to use if you ever want some timing involved. There's a couple ways you can go about it, especially, well, in the case of the macro, you set the delay in the step itself. If you had, like, say, an event, as he was talking about, where you actually created a separate event, let me create another event here. Let's see, give me a second here again. I'm thinking off the cuff here. So let's say, oops, let's do the same. Okay, and add a locomotive. And let's say you had a speed step. Let's see, let's do a trigger here. Okay, so I have a trigger, it's an evaluation trigger. I can either add a delay here if I wanted to, or if I had multiple steps. And here I can actually add a speed delay. Sometimes it's not convenient if you actually need a delay that's not part of these steps, like a pre-delay, for instance. What I usually do is I'll add, I think they might have changed. Looks like they add a couple macro functions here. So there's a text function here that you can add, and text is just, doesn't really do anything. You can change it whatever label, but one functionality you can get out of it is you can add a delay to it. And it just looks like this. So if I need it to be like the very first thing before it triggers, I can move these around. You see, I can put it up here. I don't know if I can put it before the locomotive. You might have to actually drag the locomotive afterwards. But this is just a poor icon. Like if this was a signal or something like that, you can add a delay anywhere you want without using the step. So there's little creative ways you can add delays. Looks like they have a model time delay. What is that? This is interesting. So it's a delay up until the clock hits this time. So there's a feature you guys can explore on your own.
That's the alarm clock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, anyway, so that's one. Hopefully that answers your question here. Let's see. I think I had one other question in the mail. And this was regarding on page 69 of the new CS3 manual. There's a tip about copying track panel diagrams to a control desk, and he couldn't get it to work. All right. I haven't tried that. In order for me to do so, though, I have to do something where I actually have a control diagram. So this is learning on the fly, guys. We're going to figure out if we can figure this out. So just kind of show the process a little bit. Let's go to RNCViewer here. Oops, that's not sharing the right screen. Okay, so let me load up. Let me load up something here. System restore. I guess it doesn't really matter what I have. Let's do a shuttle track. This will be interesting. Have you played with this feature yet?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, whatever you're saying in German, I don't know. Okay, we have a layout. Let's hide all the peripherals that we don't need. Let's create a trackboard page. Let's add a new diagram. Let's see. Maybe we need to add a control desk first. Test. I love this typing feature, it's so buggy. Click OK. All right, so now we have a blank. Question is, how do we copy it from one to the other? Track diagrams, let's go to this one here. Let's see. Oops. Sorry guys, wrong button.
You'd probably do the selection on the upper left.
Yeah, so we got to select first, right?
Yeah.
And then track diagram area. Copy selection to other section. Create an area from a selection. Add to control desk. That just adds a control desk. We just did that. Let's try copy. Name for new panel or go to an existing panel.
Test 2.
Yeah.
No, you actually no. You go
I
to the
think it might
existing.
go, will it
Yeah.
go to the existing
Yeah,
panel?
that's the one you just the blank one you just made.
Yeah, so let's see if that works. Yeah, so there you go. So that
There you
will
go.
work.
Very simple, very easy. Except you
Now,
always come in on the wrong line.
yeah, so you get, because it's sort of generated weird, you're going to get redrawn. And usually it piles it up in one coordinate point. And, if you want, actually, I got to change this to, you just kind of have to move stuff around. Now you're going to see these little numbers here. You see this number in the circle? It just means it's a corresponding point to another section on a layout. And that's this one here. So, that's just kind of one connected point. So that answers that question. Hopefully, you get to view this at one point. So, okay.
Well, that was easy enough. I'm kind of surprised at how easy that was.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Thanks. So yeah, we we did get an email asking people about the digital not being live. So, how do you get rid of connection points? You can't if they are on another section of the page. Um, so I believe, let's go back to sharing that screen again. The question is, how can we get rid of these connection points? Well, the reason they're there is to indicate that they're on another layout page. So you really can't get rid of them. Um, it just means that you have a corresponding thing on another layout page. So, anything else? I think so far we've answered all the other questions. Do we have any other email questions? There's somebody's asking for reference for the programming track. I think you answered that. So,
One thing is the somebody mentioned in the question and answers that the M decoder tool is PC based, not Mac based.
yeah, yeah. A lot of it is the software for the track planning software is also PC based. I don't think they ever
Right,
have for
right.
Windows based. See, I'm gonna get some water here. Excuse me.
Are we done with questions? Oh, there's one more question here from Sean. We won't say his last name this time.
Yeah, just scroll back.
Yeah,
Scroll back to a previous
just
part of the video.
just watch the replay on YouTube. You'll hear it.
Yeah, when he's basically, if you click on that connection point, it will take you to that diagram. Well, that's a good question. Again, let's go and verify. Let's see if that can do that. It may not. Let's find out. Oh, it does. Look at that. Sean, you're a genius. Yeah. This comes in handy if you have like large layouts. It's kind of pointless. Let me load up my layout, which is, I wouldn't say large, but it's big enough where I don't want it on one screen. The randomizing test. So, see, as it loads, it's funny how it always goes to German. Please wait.
Yeah, I've noticed that with the update. It wants to reconfirm it has those locomotives.
Oh, rebinding MFX locomotives.
Yeah.
So, when you have your CS3, you can either, those connection points can kind of come in handy when like if you're viewing your screen like this, right? and you need to quickly go to another section of the layout, which, you know, this is big enough, right? Um, we're having other layouts. Let's say you have a multi-level layout. You can create these connection points manually, or you can use those connection numbers, but at least this one I can label it, and it will quickly take me to other sections of my layout. And those are done. Let's go to the edit trackboard page. Let's see. So you can go to the add section, and you have a link for board links. So you can actually create board links, and it actually has labels for each of the different panels that you may have created on your own. And you just kind of put those in the layout. And I'll kind of quickly show you. If you select it, you can drag it in here, and then now you have a connection point that you can connect to the end of the track. Let me delete that so I don't mess up my layout. Or, you know, by default, you know, like as we did, the connection points will actually take you to probably the same point if you have two boards of the same diagram, which if I get out of edit mode, and we'll zoom out quickly, you can see this panel up here, these two bottom panels are basically the same section of the layout. So, and because I don't have those connection numbers, it won't allow me to quickly go from this one to this one, the control panel to the diagram. So that might be, you know, a nice feature that is in there. Partially because I didn't cut and paste it, and it doesn't give me that number. So, are there any options for transferring layout plans from other programs to the CS3 if the program uses Marklin C-Track?
Another easy question. No.
Yeah, pretty much. It really kind of depends on where it's coming from. You know, we had initial issues, and I don't know if it holds true now. Is like if you
You're
are upgrading from a CS2 to a CS3,
you're still sharing
um,
your screen.
yeah, that's okay. It's just talking points. If you had a CS2 to a CS3 and you basically saved a profile from the CS2 and loaded it into the CS3, your diagrams would wouldn't load up the way the, you know, it won't like get pasted into the CS3 as the way, you know, like the screen that you would see, you know, all these things, because they use a coordinate point system, you know, all these like turnouts would be piled up into a jumble, and all you'd have to do is just kind of go there and separate them. And it's kind of like, think of it as untangling string, and you may have to do that. But I believe they did an update where it got better. I can't guarantee that because I haven't run a CS2 in a while. So
Yeah, actually, it is much better now because I transferred the old test layout that I built that we would take to Eurowest
oh
to a
yeah, yeah.
CS3, and it came out almost perfect.
Oh great, great. So that's a
Yeah,
good improvement.
so
Yeah.
it's much better. Joe V has to leave, so thank you from Flanders, Belgium. Awesome.
Thanks for visiting. You take
Yeah.
care.
And Rick here sent me a note that says it works. I'm not sure which Rick this is and what is working, but I'll take the pat on the back.
Yeah. Because they're gonna say sit pat yourself on the back.
Yeah. So I got if we're done with all these questions and stuff, we can get into the goofy part of the webinar, which is
Yeah, I believe so. I don't think we have any other
always a
questions
fun
answered.
part. But this is really cool, Curtis. I got this yesterday. A gentleman, Werner, I won't say his last name, but he is in Pittsburgh. I got this 9x12 envelope in the mail yesterday.
You got an envelope?
Yeah, and this is one of his layouts. Okay, this is a Z gauge layout, and it says on the back, he put a nice note on the back saying that both his sister and his wife worked at the factory for some time.
Oh,
He
really?
worked as a tool and die maker across the street. This is a Z gauge layout, and he says that he showed it to a couple of dealers at one point, and it's the best Z gauge layout he's seen. And this is actually really, really nice layout. I figured, you know what, I'd give him a shout out there. And he also sent this one, which obviously is from a film, and it's the yellow is faded out of it, but this is a scratch built building he built. So very nice. I had worked on a locomotive as his, and he's very happy with it, thankfully, and sent me those as a nice little gesture.
Okay. Rick responded with the shuttle works.
Yes. Okay,
So
Rick.
maybe
Good.
he
I didn't
found out that problem with the track as we kept trying to tell him.
with this other Rick, we've probably been trying to figure out his problem with his shuttle route or his main track routing probably for the last 3 months. And change this component, try this. He deleted his program, he recreated his program, and he kept having the same trouble. He changes S88 modules, he changed the wire, he changed everything, and finally today, literally 5 or 10 minutes before the webinar, I came up with an idea to try something, and it sounds like his shuttle is working. So again, both Curtis and I have been helping him, and we were in the preview of this webinar when we were both talking to him today. So
Yeah, we had to verify that you said it's got to be track related. It couldn't be the S88. So
yeah,
apparently he found it. So we're glad that he
that's
did that.
awesome. We'll probably be getting a phone call later after the webinar because he knows we're on it because
Well, I don't, the funny thing is, like, so when you have event programs like that, and then you have sort of um, aberrant behavior,
yeah,
right?
he had a trigger that was a phantom trigger that was going off on a contact
Yeah.
S88
Ye-
contact.
Yeah, I mean, if it's reading something and something keeps triggering it, I mean, you either got another event triggering it, or you got something going on with the layout. Even though you might be guaranteed that your wiring is secure, you never know what you're going to find. I've had issues where even where I soldered, you know, a wire to a rail, it was maybe a sloppy soldering job, and it just kept making contact with the wrong rail, and it would
Yeah, we
trigger.
had gone down every path we could think of, and I was really trying hard to get him to take up golf instead of model railroading. But we stuck with it, and sounds like, yeah, it sounds great. Hopefully it stays that way because he thought he had it once before and called up all happy and proud, and then the next day he wasn't quite as happy and proud anymore.
Yeah, so we're definitely joyed that you got that fixed, Rick. That's a good
Yeah.
thing.
So
Okay, you
you
guys.
we're gonna do the look what I got.
Yeah, I just did an unboxing, so I had to figure out what was in my very light package that I received.
Yeah, I know there's one thing. I know there's a couple things you got.
Yeah, well, I'm going to show the main. I'll show the main product. I'm kind of happy because I kind of love silo cars, and so I got this little set here, folks.
Nice set.
48295.
Nice set.
Good to roll those around. And then, the one minor thing, and I thank you for this. Didn't expect this. I don't know if it was the folks you work for or you, but I got a little box of marzipan.
Nobody wanted it, and there's only like two pieces missing.
He goes, maybe that's why you didn't want it. Well, let me taste it. Ah, let's give it to,
Yeah,
let's give
Curtis
it
will
to
eat this.
let's send it to California. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Mikey.
And the other thing that I got is actually a little service part that we needed, and I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about it, maybe not. We have had
Maybe,
issues.
maybe the next webinar, put it in
So
and see if it works.
this is a servo motor, and this is actually for the CS3 turntable. This is what
The
pulls the
C-track
latch.
turntable.
C-track turntable, yeah.
Yeah.
This pulls the latch back that allows the turntable to rotate. Now, I've had mine kind of in pieces for a while, and I needed to figure out what it was, and I finally got back into it. And a lot of people are like, what was the issue there? It wasn't retrieving. Essentially, this servo, and this is the actual part here. And if you pull this apart, there's really small gears. I have a photo of it that I can't. It's not on my computer. I can't really show it to you, but the motor was binding, so it was actually not allowing the servo to turn properly. So, where they got this part from, this might actually be part of the issue here. Is like the gears were just kind of binding and not allowing it to turn or rotate freely. So there's the part fix for it. If you have something like that in your CS3, that might be one of our
Turntable.
solutions. Or your turntable. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Speaking too fast without thinking.
What topic are you on?
Why is the feed not live on YouTube? Well, John, we can't tell you that technical error. It kept giving us a 500 server error. So we are recording it and we're going to post it online. So
Um, yeah, sorry for you YouTube viewers. You'll have to watch it in reruns, syndication.
yeah, it's just an internal server error. I don't know what we did last time where we got it to work, but this time it just didn't want to take. So we apologize for that, but it's kind of beyond our control and our really kind of experience of why. So
So here's a couple of things I got to make
yeah,
Curtis jealous.
great.
I don't know why I don't have this, and I think it's because, or I have it now, but I picked up the 1999 Insider car. I think this is before they came free. And it's just a nice car. It's like, well, let me see if I have a 1999. It's like, no, I didn't. So I picked up a 1999 Insider car off the secondary market. And also, which a car that I'd never seen before, another Pepsi car. I
Oh,
have,
yeah,
yeah. I think I
yeah.
have most, if not all, of the Pepsi cars. We were a Pepsi family growing up, so I um I picked that up just for fun because it was inexpensive.
I've never seen it.
Okay, Curtis, are you ready for this?
Yes. What do you
Yeah,
got?
look at that look on your face. It's like, oh God, what's it gonna be?
Let me get the drool out here. Oh, wait a minute. Little small alpha, and it's yellow.
It's the yellow version of the German Post, 500 years of German Post Alpha car.
Oh,
I had never seen one of these, and I got this on eBay also. I mean, secondary market also.
wow.
Um, and yeah, I mean, it's already open, so I can take it out, but it's not like it's a big deal. Um, Curtis and I like the Alpha stuff because it's just so different, let's say. So yeah, and being it's 500 years the German Post, the yellow um the yellow Alpha stuff is very difficult to get. And so
With
I
yellow, yeah, and well, it's like the black is secondary.
the black is second, the red is very common.
Yeah,
So
but yellow, I've never really seen that. So,
yeah, I had never seen it either. I mean, I don't know exactly what's out there for Alpha. But the big thing I got, which came into the warehouse here, is the Class 44 Austrian locomotive. All right, which is actually right here. And what I like about the Austrian stuff is it looks just like the German stuff, but there's no red. When you
wow.
buy German locomotives, you're always getting black and red steam locomotives, black and red, black and red. So you end up with enough of those. And I don't get tired of them because I do like them, but I like seeing them in all black. And just for those of you in the know, if Curtis declines on this, we have one left here in the warehouse. And it is a stunningly beautiful locomotive, in my opinion. Not only does it have the firebox flicker, but it also has the ash pan flicker. So that is item number 39888. If you're so inclined, if Curtis doesn't want it, because he could probably get his order in before a dealer could get it in, but I would say
I don't even
is
know if I ordered that or not.
no, you did not. I had them check, and you
Oh,
did not order it.
okay.
So um, people may be out of luck. And that's it for the stuff that I got. I do have a few things that I found in the warehouse that are really kind of neat. Some we have a lot of, some we don't. I didn't take quantities, but That's a nice little container set. And I just thought it was, so to say, colorful, even though, it is black on the two containers, but you got the gray flatbed and then the red and the white of
Yeah.
the other car. I think it's got some good detail on it. I like it. Item number,
What is the railway on that one? Is that German?
it doesn't actually say, and I can't really read the print. So it would be anywhere in Europe, I'm sure, um, because it is containers. Um, I also noticed this, which I like it when these come in a set like this, because you get a nice set all in one box.
Yeah.
This happens to be the DSB uh, covered hoppers, but because you get 12 cars in here, it just makes a nice long run of hoppers.
Are those actually 12 or 6 pairs?
They are 6 pairs because they have the prototypical coupler in between,
Yeah.
according to the picture.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's like it looks like
Yeah,
there might be a drawbar in there. Yeah.
right. So, um, and there's one thing I do like um, about having Marklin and Trix is, so if you get, so to say this, Marklin and Trix, they'll come out with the same product, different packaging and different wheel sets, but also it usually is different numbers on the cars. So you can use one or the other as an add-on set, and on the box, usually it gives you the item number for the other wheel set. So to make this work on Marklin, you order this wheel set, 3E700150, which is like the most common
That's
wheel.
funny. I never sorted out the logic of that because I always knew that was there, but I never bothered to like, oh, this is the
Yeah,
number
and
I
so
need.
you can switch to the other one, and you have you have the same car set, but just a slightly different variety,
Yeah.
and it just adds onto your set, which
I have a lot
I
of tricks. Yeah, I have trick sets that I just never
yeah,
really
and
noticed
we've
that
switched
before.
the wheels on them
Yeah.
and run them that way. And again, I saw this. This is what started me. I kind of went mostly freight for these. There's a nice colorful set right there of modern
I hadn't
container
seen that
cars.
one. That's
I didn't either. I mean, I saw it in the new items catalog and or whatnot, but so yeah, it's all
well,
right.
it's a modern item.
I know,
You usually don't do the modern
and
stuff.
not too much. I do some, but I saw this. It's like, you know what? That's actually very colorful, and
Yeah.
I do like the DR container. I like the DR stuff. Um,
Well, that
only
one's got good variety, which is kind of nice.
yeah. I'm like a kid in a candy store. It's like, ooh, look at this, look at
Must be
this.
because now that you're there at the warehouse, you're seeing everything on
I
the
know
first
everyone's always constantly coming in here saying, we're missing one of these. Do you have it? And I just say no. Um, we have some of the ICE rainbow ice left in both Trix and Marklin. The
one. Oh, the
ICE3
rainbow
rainbow
IC.
ice because it's got the rainbow on the side.
Yeah.
Nice, colorful set. We have the add-on sets in Marklin, but we don't have them in Trix, but we do have the set in each still in case there's any Trix fans out there. And that's about it for a couple things that I picked to highlight here. Um,
You're just a walking commercial, aren't you?
I am, well, the program director likes us to show stuff, so
No, I get it.
program director.
They don't. She doesn't. We don't display the hammer that's facing
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
arrow.
I get the whip afterwards. So, yeah, but as soon as I took this locomotive out, it was
Show them in the
oh,
front
any
end
new
of that.
LGB items in the warehouse? I didn't even think of grabbing LGB.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start to do that.
What's the front end of that Austrian? Can you show me the front end on that really quick?
Oh, beautiful, man. See, you're thinking about I always could sell Curtis anything there.
Yeah, I like the Wagner smoke deflectors on them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I like about that. That really
All right,
makes
have
it
them send it to me.
beefy.
Sorry, guys,
Well,
you're out of luck.
you're gonna have to email the program director and as far as new LGB items in the warehouse, I can think of a few things that we have had for a little bit, like the Amtrak cars and the Amtrak locomotive, the Forney with Forney cars.
Yeah.
Um, oh, you know what I should have grabbed? I should have grabbed the crocodile,
Oh,
the
the
new
LGB.
crocodile.
Is there an LGB crocodile in there?
No, it's not LGB. And unfortunately, sorry, John, I'm kind of, you know, sweeping you under the rug because I'd have to really think about LGB. But if you want to entertain the people for a second, I'll go get the new crocodile, which is the model from the 30s.
Well, what can I talk about?
Yeah, talk about something. I'll be right back.
Yeah, he goes away. While you're there, pick up an LGB locomotive or have the program director do it for us. All right, guys. Any questions that you have for me? What else can we think about here? It's weird. We've been doing this for so long. It's can be difficult to come up with new topics. So anything is new. We do have a question. What are the costs of these items? I can't really. We don't really have the retail list here. Contact your dealer. Show us the big boy when it comes out. For the yeah, I don't know. They think we had. Did we have the? I think in the last newsletter we had. I think we had something on display, didn't we? Can't remember. What else is going on with marketing? So you guys know about the updates, programming regards, new catalogs. You guys have had catalogs. There are a number of. Oh, he's back. Thank you.
Yes.
Couldn't stall any longer. Was there a big boy that's coming out? There's a big boy.
The 1 gauge big boy, yes.
Yeah.
We are going to have one. I hear there's a waiting list for them. People didn't order them in time, and there's a waiting list.
Oh, really?
I did have that one
Yeah, you had one on display last.
undecorated one here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the box the crocodile comes in. It comes in the old style box. Did a great job on this box. It looks a lot like the old boxes, and it's the crocodile that it's in the museum at the factory, but it was a handmade sample in the 30s, I think. I'd have to read the paperwork in it
Are,
because
are,
I actually haven't taken one of these out of the box
are
yet.
you sure they just didn't find the original wrapping paper at the warehouse?
Probably not. But these things have been flying off the shelves if you're lucky enough to get one. And I haven't seen one out of the box yet, which I don't know why I didn't grab this earlier. So somebody is going to get a previously seen one. Oh my gosh, this is a nice looking locomotive. Well,
It looks old but brand new.
yes. New
What kind
pantograph.
of lights are they using? Are you using LED
These
lights?
are LEDs with a big plastic globe over it.
Wow,
So it looks like it's the old style.
really retro.
Yeah.
Well,
So as long as I don't drop it, everything will be good.
what's the part
Um,
number on that? Put that part number up there for people if they want
what
to.
is that number? 18045. And yeah,
There you go.
that's I might have to put this on the test layout and see what it looks like. I probably won't run it, but I'll just see what the lights look like. Pantographs do go up and down. Very simple, obviously, because it was a handmade sample from the 30s. I don't remember if they shrunk it down a little bit for HO or if it was already I believe, double O at the time.
Oh, slightly different gauging on the wheels.
No, I mean, I think double O became HO. I'm not an aficionado on it. Um, but yeah, this is, I knew I didn't want to look at one of these because I'd want one, but I can live without having one locomotive, I guess. So
You weather the storm.
yes, that was it. So, um,
We had a quick tip from our friend Sean. He says if you accidentally have a locomotive that sounds its whistle or some sound and keeps going, uh, he he found that you can do a search for lokes and it'll stop the sound. Um,
yeah, because it kind of, yeah, goes to the, I had that problem, actually with this beautiful Austrian locomotive. I mean, the other one that we have in the warehouse, I put it on the track too, and the coal shoveling was going. And I think, Sean, if you not only if is it for you it was a whistle, for me it was a coal shoveling, but I had to activate and then deactivate the sound. So I think what happens is that happened to be activated when they tested it and then just pulled it off the track without turning the function off. Um, it stayed on until it got powered up again. So yeah,
that's the nature of digital bit switching.
yeah. So
Thanks.
it makes sense to me that if you do a search, it will kind of clear out the functions that are running. That does make sense to me. All righty.
All right. Well, let's see. One more comment. Uh, Heritage USA diesel locomotives. Is there a release plan for that?
You can go on the Marklin website and see the release dates of items somewhere in there, probably the German website. I know I've stumbled across it a few times,
Yeah,
and
usually they're just quarterly based, and we don't really get a heads up on schedules.
yeah, and it would I don't know when it's coming, but I know it's the Pennsylvania. It'll be these locomotives, but in the Pennsylvania, like it's a Tuscan red, which is a brown paint scheme,
Cool.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So that tip from Son, yeah. So like you mentioned earlier, if you're trying to stop a sound, you just go to the locomotive. But if you're a large collector, you can't always find the locomotive you want.
Yeah, I get that. Fortunately for me, it was it was on the test layout here, and I do try and delete the locomotives that
Yeah.
I've repaired and sent back. So
I think as far as the heritage locomotives, we only are aware of the PA coming out, right?
right, I don't
I
know
don't
of
know
any
of
new
anything
ones,
else.
and this is what I know. The Heritage, the ES 44 AC locomotives, which are the UP and the Kansas City that we've come out with. Um, Norfolk and Southern came out with their Heritage fleet. And what they did is they painted the locomotives in paint schemes of what they call fallen flags, which were had nothing to do with the wars or anything, but road railroads that have been either went into bankruptcy and don't exist anymore, or bought by other railroads, and so the Pennsylvania is the first one, and I think I could be mistaken, but I think there were 11 different paint schemes. So I don't know how many Marklin Tricks is gonna make. Um, they don't they don't tell us. We don't see the new items brochure until you do, so it's gonna be a surprise for us too. Um, is back to shuttle problem Rick, so we don't say his last name. Um,
Not posted.
he says, "Why does a particular loco start in reverse after startup?" Um, you know, and everyone will forgive my harshness here because we've gotten to know Rick and he's actually a good guy, jokes around, but maybe you don't know which end is forward, Rick.
Maybe you put it on the track backwards.
Yeah. Um, if it's a retrofit decoder, you can wire the motor backwards and have it going the wrong way, where Curtis knows this if you when you put in a decoder. Um, Rick. You can and at that point you can either switch the wires, but your lights may be backwards. If somebody did retrofit a decoder into his locomotive and have the white lights in and wires backwards, um, you can change it in the CVs of a CS3. I'm not going to demonstrate how because I'm not set up for that. But you can change it in your, take the decoder out and do it in the programmer if it's a retrofit decoder. If you cannot modify a factory decoder like that, I don't believe. So we'd have to probably take that offline and see what you're talking about, Rick, and we can get it
Well, you
straightened
have to
out one way
figure
or
out.
another.
You have to figure out the source. I mean, sometimes, as Rick said, you can wire up the light backwards from the motor, and then you can fix it in coding. But sometimes it's like, yeah, there's two ways you can do it wrong, and you know,
Right.
you can get OCD and just like, I'd rather fix it in the wiring because that way I know it's like the wiring straight. When I
Yes.
get rid of it and give it to somebody else, that way you're not coming back and haunting me with like, hey, why is this thing running backwards and the lights are in the wrong direction?
Right.
Plus, you got to
That's
worry about every once in a while you might get a command corruption in your system if you have a noisy system where it's just it's flipping a bit, and this
correct.
happens with electrical storms and kind of stuff, and then it might switch it. There's weird anomalies that come on. It's like when you turn on your layout, you get something that happens for a millisecond on your locomotive, and it's just part of the boot process as far as I'm concerned. It's as long as it self corrects, then it's really nothing to worry about. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've done the really smart thing where I tried to do it the easy way and I switched the motor direction and then I forget to change the lights and I have to go back. It's like, well, geez, I've already done all this work. Just go back and fix it the right way. So I kind of learned to, if when I put a decoder in, the first thing I do is wire up the motor. Besides, obviously the ground and the slider, and I don't wire up any of the function lights or function auxiliary functions or the lights. And I'll test to see which way the motor is going, and I either reverse it or I just cut the wires shorter and clean them up at that point. So I do the same thing as Curtis does. We make sure it's right before we proceed.
yeah. With I think the one thing that you and I do different, and it's always I always make sure I have a little extra wire to play with in case I mess something up. Whereas you'll trim yours down where it's the shortest distance, and
I like to make mine neat.
yeah.
Once I know
Yeah,
where they're going to go and
I'm
how
a
long they
little
should
well.
be.
Even then, I don't like to have because like if something frays or something like that, then I like to have a little bit of wire to work with rather than just to have to rewire it altogether.
I
So
usually leave about maybe a quarter inch extra
yeah,
for things so the motor can pivot and
I'm a little less graceful than you are, so I have an extra inch. So,
but if
anyways,
you've ever seen wiring in a German machine, it's like a work of art.
well, it's like yeah, it's like wiring under a layout. It's different from
Yeah,
German.
right.
Everything is like at a 90-degree angle.
Oh, it's crazy what they do, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, geez, that's for short topics. That's quite of a long
yeah,
episode for us. Anyways, I don't think any other questions before we log out and call it an end of the day. One
so
more.
Norbert, thank
Oh,
you, Norbert.
Norbert, it's good hearing from you. Good seeing you. Glad you could join us as always. So.
And one of these days I'll get to your locomotive. Trust me.
There you go. More of that. All right. Well, I think that about ends it for us.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys seeing you. Hopefully, in a couple months, keep those questions coming. You know, helps us figure out stuff to write about. So,
Yeah, because we're so out of topics.
well, I'm actually deciding that we might just have to start from scratch for new users because we do have some new users out there in and out
Yeah.
of orbit, which is why I talked about events stuff. So,
Yeah. Well, I don't want to recreate the automatic routing with the mobile station again. That was a lot of work.
yeah, we'll just refer you to the articles. Remember, we have indexes at the end of at the beginning of the New Year's. If you guys need an article index, send us a newsletter, or send us an
Email.
email at digital@markln.com. Be happy to answer all your questions. May be delayed, but anyways, appreciate seeing you guys. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was fun to have you guys and your questions. So
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
you all take care. I'm going to stop the recording first. So.